Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Cavil and Charles, Dr. Cavil with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Welcome to episode 402 on the backside of 400. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast on the Black College Sports Network. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture. HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. We have none other than Charles Bishop and AD Drew coming in to give you your news of the day. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. That is the multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, for those that don't know. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. That being said, Charles Bishop, how you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. It is, somebody turned the oven on here in Houston. It is definitely hot as all get out. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I heard they turned the temperature up on you, too.
Oh, my goodness. It is nice and South Texas hot around here. Even the dog is knocking on the door at 6 a.m. in the morning like, hey, it's hot. Let me in, please. So
he said South Texas hot. The dog knocks at 6 and say, hey man, it's rough out here.
Hey bro, open up.
So I see as you wipe the sweat off your brow in that nice air conditioned place, it's blessed that we have air conditioning, because I don't know what else we would do.
Very much so.
The heat is real, as you talk about. You're absolutely right. With that being said, AD Drew, how you doing today?
Well, your heat, my rain, Charles. We had afternoon thunderstorms, not the typical, 4 o'clock in the afternoon that you get in the South. No, we had some real thunderstorms. Didn't think I was going to make it for a while as the lights flashed a couple of times and everything else that goes along with those type of storms. But it blew past about 30, 45 minutes ago, so I am here.
Good to see you. Glad it passed just in time. Somebody was watching out for you and had your back. Give a shout out to our lab listeners. Let me give one out to Ron Waters. He was the first in class, on time and ready to go. He was a little bit early, as they say. I want to shout him out for getting in here. Brandon King. We have Emma Price, Mary Allen, Ricky Burt, Christopher Darrell, Edwin D. Moore, Chuck Hunt, among others, are in the building ready for a show. We're going to try to make it a great one for you. I'm going to start out with you, Charles. What's some hot news starting this week? Got you excited as we transition from the end of the season. Officially now, even track is over with. It's the dog days of the summer. You just talked about the heat, but what else is on your mind in terms of the HBCU sports news of the day?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at this. Lynn Thompson becomes the first HBCU AD in the NACDA Hall of Fame in a lavish ceremony at the Orlando World Center Marriott. Former Bethune-Cookman College Director of Athletics Lynn Thompson became the first HBCU Director of Athletics to be honored as a Hall of Famer by the National Association of College Directors of Athletics. athletics. So that is a huge honor, and kudos and congratulations go out to Dr. Lynn Thompson for this momentous honor.
Man, Edwin E. Moore said DFW, hell, pebbles to softball size. But to your point with Lynn Thompson, that's incredible in terms of anytime you get recognized in terms of what you've done over your career, Hall of Fame, bust, if you would, thinking about it at the NFL level, and to be the first HBCU AD to be recognized, that's significant. With that being said, I'm glad you brought him up. News first of the day. We've reached out and confirmed we will have him on Thursday for an interview, so we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that and see what he's doing now. My understanding is consulting, and you've heard out there that he's doing a great deal of work with the MEAC and continues to push them forward. So he's staying busy. I will say that. I talk to him regularly, and he really appreciates the work we do on the show, so we appreciate him. Great job there, Charles, getting that out there for people to keep in front in terms of some great news of the week. Eddie Drew, what's on your mind?
I just want to throw this in as a member of COSIDA, the organization that honored honored Lynn Thompson with this honors. I'm just proud to be a member of that organization that bestowed this honor upon him. So, getting to, you were gonna say something, Doc?
No, this is a great point. Great point.
All right. Go get into my news of the day. Yesterday, the CIAA announced their media day for football. The Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, better known as the CIAA, will begin the 2023 season with this annual media day on Wednesday, July 19th through July 20th at the Holiday Inn Tanglewood in Roanoke, Virginia. Each of the CIAA's 12 head football coaches and a returning player from each school will discuss their outlook of their prospective programs and expectations for the upcoming season. This year's event will be highlighted by the release of the CIAA preseason football all-conference team, along with the predicted order of finish and the television schedule for the 2023 season. The circuit will also feature additional sessions for Q&A between the head coaches, players, and the media. CIAA Football Media Day will open up at 9 o'clock on Thursday and conclude with remarks from the CIAA Commissioner, Jackie McWilliams Parker. And for those wondering about Wednesday night will be a youth football camp, a free youth football camp for ages 7 to 13 at Salem Football Stadium. And as we know, that is the place of the CIAA championship game.
Yep, two of those coaches will be back in Roanoke on that field to see who will be crowned the CIAA football champion. I did notice you said 12 coaches, so that means Bluefield State will be there as the new re-entry of a member. So fascinating when you talk about CIAA and you get into this football talk. So is it that time already for us to start looking at our predicted order of finish for these different areas, CIAA, SIAC, SWAC, and MEAC? I guess we got a little time for that, but it seems like it's right around the corner when you talk about media days, AD.
If you haven't made your plane reservations, you need to go ahead and start making them, because we know how these summer airfares like to go. But Doc, I need you to notice, did you pay attention to the date?
Yes.
Thursday, July 20th is the actual media session in Roanoke, Virginia. Friday, July 21st in Norfolk, Virginia, you have the MEAC Media Day. So for those of you who would like to attend both, make your plane reservations appropriately, rent your car, drive from one to the other, and then you have opportunity to do both of them on back-to-back days.
I wonder how much that was strategically done. Hopefully it was, because you're right. For a media that tends to cover both of those, it really helps put you in a position, if you're coming out of town, to basically get one flight, or if you're in driving distance, you can make your round where you kind of take off your time and put yourself in position to be able to attend both. So great points you make there in regards to the alignment of 20 and 21st in terms of the CIAA and then the MEAC. So we get a chance to go from one to the other. Should be fascinating as they start to leach out. Order of finish, I'm teasing that out there because we're going to get some stuff before we start to get in there. We're going to finish up that. And I'm going to see about ranking all the teams. Usually Charles will come up with my top 10. I think this year we're going to spin it off as we completed 20 years going to our 21st year. We might flip it a little bit and go to the basketball style where we only get the top 5 program. I'll tease that a little more and see what you think about that. But for the preseason, I want to push out all the teams. I want to do a ranking for all FCS programs, all Division II programs. So we'll see how that works in terms of FCS. Obviously, the major division, as we like to call it, that's 21 programs. So we'll see what that looks like. So we can basically give the top 21. See who falls at the bottom, who's at the top. And we'll see if we can really wrinkle some feathers when we put it all in line. Some people can get away with it. You do your top 10, your top 5, top 7 for some folks out there. Top 6, teasing out some stuff we'll get to shortly, is, to see what people think about that kind of stuff. But enough of that. Let me go back to you, Charles. Anything else you want to get out of here?
Sure thing. Let's go. HBCU Legacy Bowl. They announced Allstate as the title partner for the HBCU Legacy Bowl. HBCU Legacy Bowl presented by the Black College Hall of Fame is announcing a multi-year partnership with Allstate as its exclusive title sponsor. It will be known hereafter as the Allstate HBCU Legacy Bowl. And this is a statement from Doug Williams. We are incredibly excited and honored to partner with Allstate in this transformative sponsorship. Allstate's meaningful commitment will significantly advance our shared values of expanding HBCU opportunity and promoting HBCU excellence. So Allstate, they are now the title sponsor for the HBCU Legacy Bowl.
The HBCU Legacy Bowl keeps rolling, and anytime you get that title sponsor, that kind of helps the financial framework of the bowl game, obviously, and make sure that things can go to the status that I'm sure Doug Williams would like it to go in terms of having all the little things necessary for the students to really have a good time there. Stephen Gaither's jumped in here. Shout out to Stephen Gaither. CIAA is the parent of the conference. Makes sense. Happy to be able to go both of them. He said it's a 3.5-hour drive just to let us know that he's traveled that way many moons as he's putting in their work for HBCU Game Day. Shout out to our main man, Stephen J. Gaither, getting it done. Let me go back to you, Drew, for one last one. Go ahead and give me another update. What else is on your mind that you want to make sure that people know is really stirring you up in terms of this week or has you excited?
Well, you got me off track when you said that 21 teams, Doc. I instantly thought casino and see if I could take that 21 to the casino and give me some blackjack, my brother. I need an ace of the king, man.
No doubt.
Anyway, Norfolk and Hampton will compete in the 23rd annual U.S. Virgin Islands Paradise Jam. This comes from HBCUGameDay.com. Don't know if this was Steve's article or not. I didn't read who wrote this article.
I believe it is.
Don't shoot me, Steve, if you wrote this article. But Norfolk State men and the Hampton men will compete. Obviously, Norfolk representing the MEAC, Hampton representing the CIAA, both representing the Commonwealth of Virginia. We got a lot of Virginia themes going on earlier in this show, Dr. Cavil. But anyway, in the 18 tournament field, the remaining teams in the field will be Florida Gulf Coast of the A-Sun, Fordham of the A-10, Kent State of the MAC, San Jose State of the Mountain West, Missouri State of the Missouri Valley, and Abilene Christian of the WAC Conference. This will be Norfolk's 4th appearance in the event. So just kudos to both these teams getting an opportunity for these student athletes to go out of the contiguous United States and to compete in basketball.
Certainly going to the Virgin Islands. You know I am about the Caribbean and going to the islands. I just had a time of my life. I love going down there. So you never know when I might.
Should we put our credentials request in?
Yeah, you know it. Then you have the University of Virgin Islands, so I might even make it an academic trip. The only HBCU outside of the contiguous U.S. state territories, as you appropriately said there, Drew. I love using that SAT word. With that being said, I wanted to get one more out here before we take our first break and come back on the other side. With that being said, Alabama State concludes the season with NCAA first-team All-American finish. On the final night, the Alabama State men's outdoor track and field 2023 season with the 4x100, which gets everybody excited. The relay team consisting of Victor Smith, Matthew Clark, Justice Traynor, Jamarian Stubbs, and Kendrick Winfield took 5th place, making the All-American at the NCAA Outdoor National Championship. The Hornets completed the 4x4 relay, where they took home the 5th place overall with a time of 38.79, helping put the program on a national stage. It was the first relay team in ASU history complete on the national level, making them the 3rd overall Hornets to advance to the finals. The ASU relay is also ranked with the 16th fastest time in collegiate history, running a 39.52 at the NCAA regional last week in Jacksonville, Florida. At the NCAA Division I level, that is the 2nd fastest time for HBCU. If you date back, you have to go back to North Carolina A&T when they ran the time. I do want to put out there, obviously we have major HBCUs that put in work at the NIA level, but this is at the NCAA Division I. So there is that separation that we need to put out there in that nomenclature. With that said, we're going to get into our first break. We're going to come back out of the break. I'm going to come back and give you what I think, based on the data. Had Drew talk about, we like to do the analytics over here. I'm going to give you the top 6 HBCU ADs / VPs of athletics. We're going to go just the top 6 programs. When I come back on the other side, I'll tell you what the rankings are. We'll start with the bottom 3, 6 through 4. Ask these gentlemen their thought based on who's ranked, where they think maybe somebody should be moved, why somebody might be in there, or who was left out. We'll give them that opportunity to kind of give their thoughts on this. And this is the major division at this time in terms of what that looks like. I'll come back on the other side and tell you what the rankings were composed of in terms of the data analytics that were used to create this top 6 list. Then we'll get on the other side and we'll give you the final 3. With that being said, stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop A. Drew. As I teased you on the way out, coming back in, I told you I was going to give you the top 6 ADs, VPs of athletics. And just to make sure that people understand, and this is the data that I retrieved. This is not on Charles Bishop. This is not on AD Drew. They just get to tell me their opinions on what the doctor put together for you all to have fodder with this week. This is the top 6 HBCU major division ADs and VPs of athletics ranking for this year. This is for 2022-2023. As you see, the first one here at number 6, we have Dr. Lewis Skip Perkins of North Carolina Central. Total combined points of 20. 20 and above will get you in the top 6. Now, make sure everybody, I want you to understand, don't get mad at me if your AD or VP is not in the top 20. It means you might need to support them a little more and make sure they have the work to get in there. Or you can wait till Division II mid-major comes out for the Division II NAIA and see if they can get in that top 6. In addition, or you can just, continue to push the envelope and get things done. These are the demarcations. Revenue. You generated, put in revenue, new income revenue sources. Top 4 spots in championship. A is football, B is men's basketball, C is women's basketball, D is baseball. All sports conference finishes. Where did you finish in the all sports conference? Did you take it all? When you top quadrant of your conference. Postseason accolades for multiple teams. What did your teams do in postseason? Number 5, new facility development. Have you recently had new facilities built? Have you had plans where facilities will be built in short order? 6, communication plus social media activity. Are you on social media communicating? Are you doing interviews? Are you out there communicating to your fans, particularly your constituents, in regards to what your program is doing? Number 7, are you doing stuff innovatively? Do you have influence? Are you one of the ADs when they come in the room for the conference office that you have an influential voice, whether it's in your conference or HBCUs in general, or even at the NCAA level within some of the organizations and partnerships that you're with? And then we have et cetera miscellaneous that I might get into as this goes on a little bit. With that being said, let's get into number 6 again. Dr. Lewis Skip Perkins. He's the athletic director at North Carolina Central Eagles. He jumps on the list with accumulating 20 points here, if you would. Obviously, they had the football championship for the conference. It was a co-championship. We got to make sure we put that in there. But They were able to get the bid to the Celebration Bowl. They won the Celebration Bowl, finished second in the regular season for men's basketball, got a tournament championship in softball. They do have plans for facilities updates, but they're out there a little bit. In terms of all sports trophies, not so much on the women's side. Had a third place finish on the men's side. That puts them at number 6. Let's go to number 5. Who is 5 out here getting it done? At number 5, we have none other than Dr. Kevin Granger, Texas Southern University Tigers. 21 points in terms of what he got done here. Obviously, many people remember the men's championship. That was a tournament championship. Football was in the mix in terms of their place in the division. Building new facilities, high marks. Strength and conditioning, weight room will be finished before the end of the summer. Continue updates in terms of the facility here. Got the money from the Astros to build baseball and softball facilities. Got an AD award recognized for his work in this area. On the men's side, third place finish on the All Sports Trophy in terms of what he did on the men's side. Not so much on the women's. Got some work to do there. But in total capacity and etc., he actually is one of the few ADs, the only AD I know in the HBCU space, that actually is responsible for the band, Ocean of Soul, as well as the cheerleaders. And they got an HBCU cheerleader championship. So you talking about bringing weight in terms of what you do. Obviously, he has a little more there, but he has the bonus. Getting it done, especially when he brings the national championship to the table with cheerleading. How about that? Bringing us to number 4. Let's get into number 4, and we'll take a pause here after number 4 before we move to those top 3. We head back into the MEAC. Kerry Davis, Howard Bison, 25 points, roll out the dish, and Howard Bison are taking a major step in terms of what they've been able to get done in the MEAC. Obviously, a share of the regular season championship for football. They got a men's championship. That was regular season and tournament. All MEAC trophy, both on the men's and women's side. They finished at the top in terms of men's, finished at the top of women's. Here's a little tidbit out of here, new facilities, but my understanding, that's far off, so didn't get as much points you can get there. But in terms of what you got done in football and men's basketball has pushed them to number 4. So you see 6, 5, and 4 in terms of where this list is. Again, we'll take a break and get into the top 3. But before we do that, I want to hear what the judge think of my list based on what I put out there in the criteria. You see the numbers. I'm going to start with you, Drew, as I saw you taking notes like a student that is really ready to get in some dialogue and have some questions and concerns. I'm going to go to you.
Just one question in general, Dr. Cavil. Notice you went with a top 6 instead of a top 5. I think I may know the answer to that, but explain why you went with a top 6 instead of a top 5. Or do you want me to give you my guess first?
You can get a guess first.
Okay, the 23 Division I athletic programs.
That's correct.
So 6 is as close as you could get to the top quadrant. That's just my guess at it. Am I going down the right path with that?
Yes, that is really pretty close in regards to what it is. I thought you were going to jump up with Charles may think the 6 was 4. Alpha 5 compared to 6. That probably was.
That would have been Charles.
right where that goes. But really, when you talk about the 21, that was a part of it. You could break it down in 3, not 4 parts of quadrants, as I like to do in terms of getting that, because you couldn't get in there. But if we did it in tries, you would get 7 apiece. ultimately, when it came down to deciding whether I was going to include a 7 or a 6, and I wanted to give a little discussion here to see if you could say who would be 7 if you had it. The final demarcation when we were going between 6 or 7 was actually who was able to get 20 points or more. Was a separation ultimately with my delineation of not including 7. But to your point, there was a theoretical practice of whether we're going to do a top 5, top 6, or top 7, or even top 10 for that matter. And ultimately, we decided with the top 6 in regards to those that can get that threshold of accumulating 20 points as it starts to drop off after that. So I'm glad you got that question out there.
Well, I'm glad the black and gold was not your major influence on that. It just happened to work out that it came up to the top 06. I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna leave that out there. Other question I have is you mentioned social media. I got a good guess when you did your social media. Who was ranked number 1? I don't know if they're going to appear on this list as of yet, since we haven't seen the other 3. But I know Dr. Paul Bryant up at Alabama A&M had to lead that one category out of all these athletic rankings.
Yes, he was high on that. His engagement was high. His decision in terms of what he did on Magic City Classic in terms of innovation was extremely high. But his first year in terms of the performance on
results
the
on the field were not quite there.
Allow him probably to get in there. But we'll see if he sneaks in the top 3. But that was some of the things that dropped him down. But you're right. I had a lot of thoughts in terms of what he was doing. He was ranked high in that innovation in social media presence and interviewing. Great point there. Go ahead, Charles. What are your thoughts?
Well, in terms of the criteria, and this is what I was really curious about in terms of the point system and the weighted ranking, especially when you take a look at revenue, championships, all sports trophies, postseason accolades, new facilities, communication, social media, and influence. Out of that criteria, which ones have the higher weight to them?
They actually were distributed evenly. I'm glad you had that question as well. It was a Likert scale, 1 to 5 in terms of where you fit on that. And you could get a half a point as well. But in terms of the top, would it be a 5 mark, and the bottom would be a 1. But all of the scales were weighted actually equally in regards to the distribution, where there were more consideration in terms of all sports as you broke them down in those areas, which could give you higher scores in terms of that. So weight distribution, if you look at it that way, the all sports, championship, trophies, regular season, tournament, weighted a little more than the other areas in terms of that. Yes, Lady Drew.
You mentioned all sports. Since all institutions do not offer the same amount of sports, was that average, say, if I offer 15 sports, was it based upon my average of my 15, or was it, if you happen to have 18, 19 sports, you just got more by attrition?
I really appreciate that question. I just looked at this case in terms of where you finished in the All Sports Trophy. One of that is to look at the revenue in terms of, are you doing enough, or do you have the ability to have that influence on your president, chancellor, to find more funding to be able to get those more sports. And we'll see how this goes, because we have some new ADs, and they may have the ability to shake this up in 23, 24. But another excellent question that is important in terms of understanding the framework of what may be some concern with some athletic directors of where they are in terms of those sports. And I know we got into it a little bit last time in terms of the distribution and what is the best way to average it. But at this point, while your all sports was based on where you finished, we did have a demarcation in terms of what we presumed as the 4 more important sports. Revenue generating is what some people will call it, a little differently here in terms of that. I wanted to make sure that we did a platform to get a top women's sports program involved. And so that's why men's and women's basketball were weighted equally. Obviously, men's has the ability to generate the revenue, but I thought it was important to recognize women's basketball because on this show, Chivalry's not dead. Baseball, obviously, is a tough component when you go to the MEAC. Let's be frank with that. And our independent programs outside of A&T, they're not playing baseball. But baseball is a important sport for the SWAC in regards to how we saw the dialogue. And in a lot of ways, there's parts of baseball that can generate revenue if it's done right. We've seen that really with Southern and their ability to generate their revenue in terms of how they pack the stadium and charge. And then lastly, obviously, football is the big one. And then you have the ability to get to a celebration, which really takes it on a different level with the championship there. So good stuff.
And obviously, you got two football teams that don't play also to kind of balance out those two baseball teams.
In terms of all sports. Yeah, exactly right. When we get into it. Let's get into our second break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll give you the top three. You might have your head in the tether. We'll see if we fit your criteria of what are the top three ADs, VPs of athletic rankings out there. And again, we'll bring your AD on the interview if they want to talk a little bit about what they're doing and say, hey, we might want to get measured over here. They're welcome to come in and show out their work, but this is just what the data said. Coming back on the other side, we'll give you the top three and see what you think.
I have in me the ability to make you a better you. So if you work hard, focus, stay on point, you can do anything. Trust me.
We made this track to tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Remember the revival? Relive the remix. Reunite for the Orange Blossom Classic. HBCU Reunion Experience. It's year 3, baby, and we back with that fire. Calling all HBCU fans. Labor Day weekend. The I Love Jackson State University takes on the venomous Florida A&M University. Tickets are on sale now. Watch the game in premium style seating or watch it from a luxury suite. And of course, you know the halftime show is going to be epic right here in the 305. The sonic boom of the South and the illustrious Marching 100. Who you rocking with? The 2023 Orange Blossom Classic. Don't miss the HBCU Reunion Experience. Labor Day weekend, Miami Gardens, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium. Trust me, we'll see you there. Oh. Check out OrangeBlossomClassic.com for tickets and info.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. We have none other than Charles still doing his thing with AD Drew. We gave you your top 6. As we're looking at these top 6 ADs and VPs of athletics, we gave you 4 through 6. 6 was Dr. Lewis Skip Perkins, North Carolina Central. Number 5 was Dr. Kevin Grange at Texas Southern University Tigers. And number 4 was Carrie Davis of Howard University with the Howard Bison. With that, we get into number 3. We have our first woman involved. This young lady kicks in the glass ceiling and jumps into number 3. Sport with Norfolk State Spartans. Melody Webb gets it done. She has a women's basketball tournament championship, a regular season women's championship, as they did the double-double. All sports trophy, she came in second. Regular season softball was number 2. In terms of what they did on the women, on the track, number 2. And on the men's side, they were all second in terms of getting it done. So in terms of a total package, got it rough. It's in the top 3 is Melody Webb with the Norfolk State University Spartans gets it done when we look at number 3. Bringing us to number 2, you have another doctor in the building. Well, these doctors with these titles and getting it done in a lot of ways. Dr. Jason Cavil, Alabama State Hornets, 27 points cumulative. Baseball, regular season Eastern Championship, but got an all sports trophy at number 5 finish. Getting it done in a lot of ways, obviously, with respectively with men's and women's at 1 and 2. Softball Eastern Division Championship. A lot of updates to facilities, weight rooms, getting a lot of things done with the facility side for the coaches, and we'll see what it does in terms of performance. But kudos to Dr. Jason Cavil. Respected out there in terms of the conference SWAC coming from the SWAC office. In a lot of ways is getting it done. But let's see who's number 1, what everybody's been waiting for. Shake it up. We'll see who we can make mad with number 1. It just seems to be the day. Without further ado, let's get to number 1. Ashley Robinson getting it done, jumping up there with 38 points. The only one that got over 20 plus points and got over 30 points, Ashley Robinson. Obviously, Celebration Bowl appearance, second straight one, but only looking at this year. Championship in terms of SWAC, regular season. Women's basketball, regular season championship. Getting it done there. Second place in the All-SWAC Commissioner Cup. Got an AD award on the national level for Black Student Athlete Summit. New facility, built recently with others to come. Getting it done in many different ways is none other than Ashley Robinson of Jackson State with 38 points, top 3. I'm going to go with you first, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 3 or really the entire list?
Well, I think when you take a look at obviously Ashley Robinson and work that he's done at Jackson State since coming over, it's night and day, to be very honest with you, in terms of social media presence, communicating, facilities, building championship level programs. I think you can't say enough about what he's done, and he has started to receive the accolades for what he has been able to do at Jackson State. So very proud of the work that Ashley has done at Jackson State. Dr. Jason Cavil has a phenomenal program at Alabama State, and perennially they are, all sports trophy award winners with regards to what they do at Alabama State. I take my hats off to their program because it's the entirety of the program. When you take a look at track and field, you take a look at the baseball team, they're always very competitive in just about in every sport across the board. So you always take your hat off to programs like that. You mentioned Chivalry is Not Dead, Melody Webb at Norfolk State. Take your hat off to what they've done, especially in regards to the basketball teams there in the MEAC. This is a very, very, very tough list, and to be amongst the top 6 in all of the ADs and vice president of intercollegiate athletics, that is a tremendous honor and accomplishment. I'm glad that you put together a list like this. And when you take a look at the criteria, especially, these individuals are knocking it out the park. If personally, Dr. Kevin Granger being at number 5, I might have him up a little bit more because I think that's an important element that you mentioned, that he's also responsible for the band, which is a huge piece within the HBC community. So not only are you in charge of the athletics, the athletic budget, but the band as well. So I think that's tremendous in terms of being responsible for the band and the cheerleader. So I don't want to I want to underscore that part of it as well, because he of the entirety of all that he is responsible for.
Good stuff and great points that you make there when you look at it like that. Obviously, leading the SWAC as the chair of the ADs committee, what he has done over the years, as the SWAC through the commissioner has grown its revenues and is looking to have its greater split among its memberships in terms of what the ADs are taking home is another kudos in terms of what that means for the revenue pot for these ADs, particularly in the SWAC. With that being said, let me go to you, AD Drew. What are your thoughts in terms of when you look at the entirety of the list? Anything stands out?
Well, a couple of things, Dr. Cavil, that I noticed. Number one, numbers. Put the graphic back up, Brian, if you would, please. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 were bunched there together. Only 2 points separate number 2 to number 4. But there was a large gap between number 2 and number 1. And I have a little bit of reservation, not saying that Dr. Ashley Robinson is not deserving to be in the number 1 position, but that gap between 1 and 2 is concerning of me as far as the numbers go, especially when you know the success Alabama State has had in the All Sports Trophy and a lot of the other things off the field that they've had. Like I said, Jackson State probably deserves to be in that 1 spot. I don't see them being 11 points ahead of Alabama State. That's number 1. And then number 2, Melanie Webb over at Norfolk. I think she should get bonus points because Norfolk is the home of a lot of the BAC championships. So in addition to everything that she has to do in her department, she plays host to a lot of the BAC championships. And if they're not hosted on her campus, such as the basketball championship in the Scope Arena, I guarantee you her staff and her people are heavily involved in those championships for the BAC. So I think she should possibly get some bonus points for that. And then number 3, Dr. Cavil, I think it's interesting that 50% of your list are doctors, EDSs, PhDs, whatever type of terminal degree that they have. But 50% of your top 6 happen to be doctors. Just an interesting side note.
And I will say this: if I could put a weight on anything within the scale, but I think the one that you touched on was influence, especially having a voice amongst whatever board of trustees that might be in place or however the structure of that university is. To have a voice in that room, that is critical. So if I could put a weight on any one of them, I think that's the one that I would put a little bit more weight with in regards to what it means to be on this list.
Great summation in terms of analysis. We're going to take a last break and come back on the other side, give you some of those that you're looking at as they enter in their first year at their institution, or some of the ADs that you are thinking about that have made moves with coaches that may propel them for 2024 and beyond. I want to see your thoughts on that as we come back on the end of the break, or anybody else that you see. And I think you hinted at one, AD Drew, that you have your eyes on or may should have snuck in this top 6. To your analysis, to your point, I think you're right in terms of that gap. Some concerns there. You see that. I like the point that you made with MEAC and the postseason conference tournaments. Didn't think about that. That's something I might have to dilly-dally a little bit and analyze or add that in terms of the data moving forward. I think that Celebration Bowl appearance there really helped the gap that you're seeing there. And with it got, in a lot of ways, probably got Dr. Lewis Skip Perkins in that top 6 above some. In fact, they got there and won it based on where the other sports on that campus are doing in terms of seeing that. So good points in regards to the value of what that football in the Celebration Bowl, because of what it brings to the table financially, much like you see with basketball, the tournament, as well as what you see in terms of what it does of the brand of the institution and awareness. So great analysis, great point. Let's take our last break, come back on the other side, give you one last opportunity to give me a name or two that you want to keep your eyes on moving forward. Then I want to get you just your final thoughts in terms of the close of the year for the sports anything that stood out to you when you look at the entirety of the year. With that, let's take our last break and come back on the other side.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and AD Drew. Professor Bishop, Professor Drew. Let me go to you, Professor Bishop. Is anybody that you have your eyes on in regards that have come into the conference within the last year? Obviously, Prairie View has a AD search at hand.
Yeah.
Kudos in a lot of ways down there to John Gardner in terms of what he was able to do in the interim. He found his way in the top 10, but it's hard to make those kind of moves and changes. So I did want to shout him out in terms of what he's doing in the interim role, as well as the athletic director at South Carolina State, as she's in that role and doing a lot of large work when you don't have the cap full-time, but you really do have the cap full-time. There's a lot saying there. But enough of what I thought. Let me get back to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of who's somebody to keep your eyes on?
I think for me, stability at the top is so important in regards to all of our HBCUs. But a name that I would love to see pop forward is Dr. Travion Scott at Grambling, especially when you start talking about the history and the tradition and the brand name that is Grambling State University. To me, he is, at the head of a nationally branded institution in regards to HBCU sports. So to see where he is taking the Grambling State program is going to be very interesting to see going forward. I think, a young up-and-comer, but what can he do with the resources or grow what he has? Is Hakeem McClellan at Mississippi Valley State. I have to be honest and just to take a look at just the short time he's been there, their social media presence has jumped tenfold. And that's one of the things I used to never see in regards to Mississippi Valley was just their social media presence. And now you're starting to see them put information out, which I think is a huge thing. So that's another individual who I think is has the opportunity to move forward or to move up on this list.
Sticking with you, Charles, one follow-up there. Is there anybody that you were surprised that were in the top 6?
For me, probably Howard, Kerry Davis. That is my surprise, and is nothing against the criteria, but when I started taking a look at the breadth of the criteria, you would expect the Mecca, to be really in the mix for championships year in, year out. And probably not having baseball, not having certain, it just kind of hurts that ranking. But that was a bit of a surprise to me to see Kerry Davis as high as he was.
But Howard does have swimming.
They do have swimming.
Men's and women did pretty good there.
Yeah,
they won the
exactly.
championship there. Eddie Drew, you name one of them, and you can name it again. But what are some of the names that you are saying keep your eyes on as we move forward for 2023 and 2024?
I will go through three quick names that I already mentioned. One of Dr. Paul Bryant there in the Rocket City there in Huntsville, with Huntsville being such a innovation and engineering city, the opportunities for growth for not only that university, but that athletic department through various partnerships, especially with the social media presence that he has put out over the years since it hasn't, I don't even think it's been quite a full year. I don't think he took over to July of last year, if I got my calendar right in my head. Right. But I think going into his second year, there's always this thing, Dr. Cavil, takes you the first year on the job to figure out what the hell is going on. The second year is when you actually are able to get in, have some impact, and make some changes. And then the third year is when you sit there and you reevaluate, do I want to stay here or do I want to plan by exit strategy and move on to another job? I'm just being real when I say that, but that's usually the cycle of how it goes for most people on any type of job, not just in athletics.
And if you're on a contract, you're right. That's when the time you're trying to get
very much so
extension, or you know that, hey, I need to start looking. You're absolutely right.
Right. So given those criteria, let's take two people who are in that first year. Dr. Tiffany Dawn Sykes and Tiffany Dawn Sykes down at Florida A&M.
Yeah.
Especially if Florida A&M is able to come out victorious in the lawsuit that they have against the state of Florida with the discrimination, not distributing the funds, similar to what happened with Tennessee State a couple of years ago. And I believe that was Maryland Eastern Shore also wound up getting a windfall out of that. If they're able to get that windfall to go with the tradition that Florida A&M has one of the deepest alumni bases of any HBCU, probably outside of Southern. They probably have, when I say deep as far as just the numbers of Florida A&M people who graduated over the years, is one of the largest institutions. That's another one. And my third one, if the interim tag gets removed from her, is Keisha Campbell at South Carolina State, because South Carolina State, once again, a school with the tradition, and South Carolina State has everything it needs. I think they just need to take the shackles off of Keisha Campbell. We know they have a competitive football program, but the other programs have suffered because the administration there at South Carolina State and the state have come down on them, cut this, cut that, took a once proud program and made it outside of football. South Carolina State is running like a Division II. I'll say it.
Good points. Good points. Charles,
two names we haven't mentioned, who I think are giants with regards to HBCU landscape: Southern and Tennessee State. Good or bad, we have not mentioned. Their AD. So to me, they're sleeping giants who can also take the next step into this criteria.
There's Southern with Roman Banks, and what was the other one?
Tennessee State.
Yeah. Tennessee State. They got to find a way to win. That's going to help you move in there with the doc over there in terms of what he's doing. Can he be creative in terms of some moves? They're looking at hockey. Be interesting to see what that looks like. So, good point when you talk about can he take the next step. Go ahead.
I think Tennessee State needs to establish whatever identity it wants to have and pursue it. If they want to identify and play the HBCUs and maintain that HBCU deep identity, then damn it, do it. If you want to be in the OVC and be with that culture, do it. Don't sit there and try to walk the line and stay on the fence between the two different cultures. I think Tennessee State needs to come to a decision at some point in time and say, which culture are we going to embrace, and let's go all in on whichever culture it is. No, nothing good or bad either way.
Yeah, and part of that is getting to the point where you got to win, and that's Dr. Mickey Allen. You're talking about those independent programs, North Carolina A&T and Hampton. Hampton, 2 years into their experience of leaving the MEAC, hasn't done much in terms of what that looks like. Obviously, in terms of football with North Carolina A&T, they had a great push in terms of that first year in the Big South in terms of football, but not much from the other sports. Particularly when you talk about A&T just getting out of this track and field championship that was leveraging the brand identification of that championship. And you see that brand not being as strong. Coaching change there. You got to give it a little more time to see what that looks like. But you're right. In terms of what those athletic directors have to find a way is how do you navigate that path in terms of being in these non-HBCU conferences that we've come to understand at the Division I FCS level with the SWAC and the MEAC. You have to find a way to make sure your programs are competitive or whatever benefit that you may see, whether it's academic, financially, whatever you put out there, reduces travel. How much does that erode the benefit of the overall brand if you can't find a way to be successful? 30 years from Tennessee State is a case study. Obviously, they turned the leaf, have Dr. Mickey Allen in there as the AD. First couple of years, made some changes, big moves with football. Will it pay off dividends? Basketball had a late season run. Obviously got a championship in volleyball in terms of the tournament. Track and field, where are you in regards to leveraging that and finishing at the top in all sports? Trophy, if you would, Commissioner's Cup for the OVC. And what are you doing in those big sports? You don't have baseball, so you don't have the benefit of being able to put that up there, but you do have football. You do have women's and men's basketball. What can you do to leverage those to get them to the next level? So great points that you both make when you look at the big picture of we're talking about those 21 football major division programs and 23 Division I programs when you take them in totality. Where do they rank with those ADs, and what are you doing to get your program in terms of this list in the top 6? So it'll be something fascinating, something new on the table that I think we'll continue to do over the years to keep our eyes on, see who's able to stay in there. Does somebody fall out? Is somebody able to jump in there? And you gave some indications of some individuals that can be making moves to find their way in that top 6. So great points made by both of you all. Thank you for breaking down this poll ranking system with me. Hopefully those lab listeners were entertained in looking at our first framework of the business of HBCU sports, leading from the front, from the ADs, the VPs of athletics. What does that look like? Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends, our colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. And again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday, as we'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully we'll have the great interview for you. Come back and look at Lynn Thompson, the Hall of Famer. We'll look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the news, starting with Thursday. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattacavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. Lab listeners, let me know what you think at the top 6. All those represented well. Do you think somebody should be in there? Do you have some folks that you want to keep your eyes on, that you want to see jump in the top 6 as things move forward? Let me know your thoughts. We will talk with you soon. Charles? Drew?
I got of course.
Lecture?
Dismiss.